We have a few more people logging in, so give it about one more minute. I am really interested to know if everybody on the call is from Ohio and what part of Ohio. Can we put that in the chat? Like, where are you from? That would be really cool. Oh, look at that. Chicago, Michigan, Virginia, Illinois. This is awesome. Texas. Nice. Very nice. Well, in order to honor your time, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off, and then we'll move from there. We've got some special guests with us tonight, so I want to make sure we honor everybody's time and have enough time for everyone to say what they prepared to say tonight. My name is Jane Hunt. I'm the Director of Education for Education Projects, and we work very closely with the Ohio Soybean Council and with this website called grownextgen.org. And I'm going to introduce you to Tom Fontana, who is going to welcome you. He is the Director of Research and Education for the Ohio Soybean Council, as well as the Director of Programs and Development of the Ohio Soybean Council Foundation. So Tom, will you welcome us, kick us off?
Thank you, Jane. It's a pleasure being here with everyone tonight. Really appreciate the fact that you've joined at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night in the busy month of September. The Ohio Soybean Council Foundation for 15 years has supported awards to district and state science fair winners. At the annual science fair sponsored by the Ohio Academy of Science, we support up to 3 awards in each district in the state of Ohio at $100 each. And we support 3 awards at State Science Day, $1,000 for first place, $500 for second, $250 for third place, all for students who do science fair projects that are related to agriculture and hopefully soybeans. We think it's a wonderful use of our foundation money. We've done it for 15 years, as I said. We also are pleased that our friends at Education Projects include a $1,000 award to the best team project in this area for Ohio. So we're really happy to be part of district and state science days in Ohio. Glad to support them. Jane mentioned the website, grownextgen.org. GrowNextGen is a premier program of the Ohio Soybean Council. It's a partnership between the council and Education Projects, celebrating its 10th anniversary in over the next year. Really supplies a lot of good resources for teachers. Our farmers decided that the best way to get students to understand about agriculture is to help teachers do that in the classroom. So we have all kinds of good curricula and activities. We sponsor teacher workshops. We have career videos, lots of information to help teachers make the connection between agriculture and science in the classroom, and to hopefully get students interested in careers in agriculture. I just want to thank all the teachers on tonight. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for what you do in the classrooms in Ohio and around the country. We really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this evening's presentation. With that, I'll turn it back to Jane.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you for being here and welcoming everyone, and for your support across these last 10 years for this Grow Next Gen project. I'm going to share our agenda real quick, if I can find my slide deck again. So we had our welcome, but I wanted to talk just a little bit about the awards, and Tom did that, but I want to show you where you can find out that information, because sometimes we hear things, but we don't remember things. So I'm going to show you where that is. And we have some special guests tonight. We are partnering. We do partner with the Ohio Academy of Science. So I invited Angie McMurray to talk a little bit about their new software called Project Board. And then we have two of our veteran teachers from our Grow Next Gen Teacher Leader Network, who are experienced veterans in doing science fair. And so they have some words of wisdom and some tips for success. So we'll be spending the majority of that after the Project Board presentation, listening to them. And then hopefully we'll be out of here by 8 o'clock. And we have some ways that you can continue to engage with us if you have other questions and things like that. So we won't just leave you high and dry and say, good luck. Okay. So we will be around. We also have a special guest too, Mary Klopfenstein, who is actually running our district fair scheduling for all of our science fair judges. So welcome to Mary. Thank you for being here. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to my share just for the real quick look at how do you find what you need to do? Where do you need to go to find that information? So here's grownextgen.org. I'm going to take you, this is our welcome page, or our home page. So if you just type in grownextgen.org, you'll see this page. And under classroom resources, you see student research. And student research projects, actually, many of our past winners are posted here. So each year we try to highlight those projects that won those district awards and those state Science Day awards. So there's some ideas there for students to look at, but we also have this page. So when you click on that, hey, learn a little bit more about this Bioscience Science Fair Award, it's right here. So there again is the list of the awards that we give. And then here are some idea starters. So if you have students who are thinking, hey, I'd like to do something with food, well, let's tailor that to soybeans, because soybeans are in almost all of our foods, in lots of things you may not even think about. They're used to feed our food. They're used in food products as well. And then environment and genetics. So you see that there's some questions, and then there's some resources to explore. So we really encourage you to spend some time or direct your students to these pages. We also have some other general information and participating in the Ohio Science Fair. So you can go to the Ohio Academy of Science directly from our page, and you can email me if you need help or supplies. We try to give mentorship ideas and help people. If you want a mentor to do some expert work with your students, we also can help you do that as well. So we have paired up some students with mentors in the past. So, click on this. So there is if you didn't get a chance to get there and you want to do a little QR code screenshot, you can pull that right there with your camera, and you can go directly to that science fair page and review that at your leisure. So the next piece, I want to make sure that like I said, kind of keep us on time. So I want to make sure that we have time for everybody. I'm going to introduce Angie McMurray, and Angie, I believe, is going to share a little bit or share her screen with us. So I think, let me see if I have given her the opportunity to do that, because that's always a fun thing. Yes, multiple participants. There we go. Okay, so Angie, I think you're set up, and I'll try and spotlight you here so you can be seen by everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for having me with you all this evening. I just cannot say enough about our collaboration and partnership with the Ohio Soybean Council. It has been a pleasure working with you all, and I can't wait to grow this endeavor. Pardon the pun on words there. But I really think that this new platform that we have developed over the last year with really the 22 years of classroom experience that I had in lots of educational platforms, I think is really going to not only pull this Science Day program into the 21st century, but I think it's going to continue to grow and evolve in exactly the format that it needs to. So some of the goals of us adopting this new platform, I was meeting with some educators this evening, and I said, I know it's always so nerve-wracking when we're thinking about new things and that are coming down the pike, but one of the things is we really feel we want to help students have an opportunity to improve their projects, because we feel that if they feel confident in their projects, then that will help them be retained through the process. So oftentimes once the projects get to the district science day and the state science day, we have just focused on an event. But for the first time, starting this year, we're actually going to be able to focus on a structured process through the actual Science Day program, that will also then end with a huge event at the end of the year. And so I think that this is going to be a really exciting time for students and educators to be a part of this program. And again, if students get to the finish line and they feel confident, another one of our goals is that we have retention. We want our students to come back year after year after year, because we know that science doesn't just stop after the end of one year. It continues to evolve, and we know that because of everything that we see around us on a daily basis. The fact that we're even communicating through Zoom is something that continues to grow and evolve. And we want to connect with all of the students throughout the state of Ohio. And we think that we have developed a platform that will allow all of our students across the state to celebrate together, but not only together, but within our community. We have a lot of our sponsors like Grow Next Gen and our other valuable higher education sponsors and partnerships who say, what else can we do? How else can we get involved and help these students to gain the skills that they need for the future? And this platform is really going to allow them the opportunity to do that. And so there's a lot and it's a little overwhelming. And so one thing I can tell you is I'm constantly posting on our social media. So please go to our social media sites. I have office hours on the fourth Monday and Tuesday of each month to answer questions. And I also have an amazing team that works with me so that we can get into the classroom. So if you're interested, if you're in Ohio, though I think they would like to travel outside the state of Ohio. But if you are in Ohio and you would like one of my advocates to come in, or myself to come and talk with you about this platform and utilizing it in your classroom with your students, I'd be more than welcome. And let me first start by saying this is completely free to every student in the state of Ohio to participate this year, with the generous sponsorship of engineering.com, who helped develop this platform. So I'm going to introduce you to just a brief overview of Project Board. The main bookmark that you want to make is projectboard.world/OAS, and that will take you to our landing page. And right now you can register as a teacher and a student, but I think everybody on here is a teacher. So we want our teachers to get registered first through the process. And once you get, you click on the registration, I highly recommend, there's a guide here. It's like 28 pages long. Download it and read through it, and then have it open as you're finishing the registration process, so that it will help you to navigate through that registration process. Another thing that we have for our educators this year is this handy dandy backpack. I feel like Dora the Explorer, right? I'm like, backpack. But so we have this backpack of resources for our educators. And we are developing a community within this backpack. So you can see we already have 47 teachers from across the state of Ohio who are collaborating in here in this ecosystem together. And we are not just, helping each other through the process of everything, but we're asking questions. We're having discussion about, hey, how do you how do you help a student start a project? Eventually, I'm sure it'll be, how do we get through those mean old ISAF forms? So, but this is a great place for educators that we can communicate and again, become an ecosystem and a supportive community from across the state of Ohio. And so it doesn't matter where you live in Ohio, you have a chance to be involved in this community. And so I'm going to go back to our landing page. But once you're here and you are registered, you are going to have the opportunity to develop classes. And I have a couple in here. So we do have a large contingency of students who are homeschooled in the state of Ohio who do participate in our programs. And so I will be their facilitator through this. And it's very similar to some of the other platforms that you might have used in your school districts before. I know this looks very similar. Like I use Schoology in my classroom. And so you can set up your class. The students will get a code and they will be able to add their projects here. We also have a collaboration with 4-H. I mean, I can't think of anything more, Grow Next Gen and soybean and 4-H, and it's all connected and it's so exciting. And so we are working on an after school program with them specifically. And so those students will be here. But once the students do register, you will be able to see their template and you will be able to see their progression through the entire process of Science Day. And so I want to go back here and show you, let's see what the template will actually, I'll just click on this one, what the template will look like. So the template will actually walk the students through everything that they need to be successful, whether they're doing an engineering design project, a meta-analysis project, or a hypothesis-based project. Everything will be here for them. And so let's say that they want to get their procedures together. There's a prompt here and it tells them, and we put it in, great language for educators and students. But, tips to remember, we want them to provide the scientific name, describe their materials, and include brands if they have to. But this is their makerspace. And some of the things that the students are able to do on here specifically is that they will be able to go in here, they can upload videos, and you can use this as almost like interactive journal. They can upload videos and images. They can use this as a whiteboard space with post-it notes and stickies. They can put links in here and articles. If it's connected to their class, they can even ask them a poll. Like, what do you guys think about if I tried this or if I did this? And so it's very interactive. Another thing that we also will eventually have available is that when the students are ready and they have something, we'll be able to see their progression through it. Very similar to like Nearpod and Desmos, where you see the progression throughout, and that's coming in 2 weeks. That will be showing up. But if you are an educator or another student in the class or a mentor, you can actually provide feedback to the student and in real time, like, hey, did you think about this? And they will get that notification email, and then they can go in and they can adjust their project. And again, we're hoping that all of this together helps to get them through the finish line. And not only that, if there's not enough resources there, hold on to your hats. We have a whole section of resources where it's divided into the topics, getting started and how to choose a topic and performing their background research. And it takes them through the entire process with all of these amazing resources that they need in one-stop shop. They don't even have to go back to our website to find any of that. It's all right here. And as educators say, hey, did you guys think about putting this into your resources? Or, oh, you're missing this resource. Tell us, we can add it. And then we can let everybody know that that resource has been added in real time so that they can use it right then and there, and it might help them through the process. So again, in a nutshell, and in my my pitch of this platform, that is Project Board. And we really are hoping that our students and our educators jump onto this from the very beginning of the process, so that our students have an opportunity to be successful no matter where they're from, whether they are connected with an institution of higher ed, or no matter the resources that they have. We have an opportunity to provide access and equity to all of our students across the state of Ohio.
Thanks, Angie. We do have a question.
Oh, okay.
Will there be a cost to this next year? You said that it's free this year because of the people who developed it. Will there be a cost next year, or how is that going to happen?
We are really hoping that there is not going to be. It is my intention that there's not going to be a cost for the students to participate. We are gaining just real momentum with our sponsors because they see how amazing this is. I just want to show you guys, we did host one of our events last year. Oops, let me make sure I can type here. It was the Buckeye Science and Engineering Fair. And if we have success like we had with even just this event last year, I really think that our sponsors are going to love helping our students through this process. Oh, my internet is not cooperating with me in the best possible way. But if you want to go to check it out more, check out Buckeye Science and Engineering Fair. But what I did want to show you is that, let me go back here to a project, and I'm just gonna jump on. This is one of a project that a student did. These are actually archivable forever. So it is my intention that students start participating in these projects in 5th grade, and we have a chance to see their growth all the way through 12th grade and see the amazing things that they've done. And then when they're in high school, they can actually connect that to a college application or an internship application or a job application to show people that they've done authentic student research. And I truly apologize for not having good internet access right now, but I will be more than happy to show you that in the future. But long story short, there's no cost right now, and it is my hope that there's not ever going to be a cost for students.
Yeah, we have another question. Is it necessary for students to use from the beginning of their projects in order to go to districts? So could my students complete their project step by step in Google like last year and then upload things at the end prior to districts?
Sure, absolutely. They can still do that. And they would have to upload their ISA forms, their abstracts, their final research paper. And then we have a couple of visual options, a quad chart, which is an abbreviated poster presentation, or a video. And we'll talk more about that with the districts, because the different districts are deciding how they want their students to present the information at their live events. All 17 districts will be live in March this year, and they're working through that. So absolutely, they can wait until districts to upload their information. But again, we have over 1,000 mentors who are just biting at the bit, ready to help give feedback to students earlier in the process. So we're hoping that they use it sooner, but we understand it's new.
Okay,
Oh,
so
offline, it goes on your phone.
offline
So
use.
you can use it on your phone. And you just, so they actually test everything on a phone right now before they actually put it on. And yes, Corbin, that is my hope, that the notebooks will will become their interactive notebook, because this is their makerspace.
Great. Any other questions for Angie? I do think it's going to be a great resource. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what students do by using it and then getting their feedback from it. I think that'll be critical.
I am going to put my contact information in the chat real quick. And then I'm actually going to hop off and go to another event. So I'm so sorry.
Well,
But again, thank you, Grow Next Gen, and thank you, Soybean Council. Thank you, Jane Hunt, for everything that you all do for our students in the state of Ohio. And so I appreciate everyone being here this evening.
thanks for making time for us.
Okay.
All right, so we have some other teacher leader special guests. So I'm gonna turn it over to Donna Meller, who is our one of our teacher leaders up from Pettisville, Ohio. And I am going to let her talk a little bit about her experiences with Science Fair. Thanks for being here, Donna.
Oh, no problem. Enjoy this. So Science Fair for me started actually when I was an 8th grader. And I remember very clearly going to my first district science fair and my state science fair experiences and that. So over the 30 years I've been teaching, have had many experiences and enjoy it very much. Also challenges, obviously, too. But one of the things I found is probably the best time, I believe, to actually hook students and get them having an interest in doing research is when they're in middle school. High schoolers, it's more difficult because of all the various activities they're involved in, and so much is vying for their time and everything. It's even getting more challenging at middle school. But I think that's where I find if I can connect with those kids in 7th, 8th grade, I see them going on and doing more and more throughout their high school career. In terms of projects, projects can vary from having an experimental design where they develop a hypothesis and then an experiment to test that hypothesis, or I have students many times also that will actually do an engineering design type of project where they develop a prototype to solve a problem, and then they test that prototype to see if it meets certain design goals. So those are the two avenues that many of my students in the past and currently do projects in. If there's anything I can tell you, I think you've heard this before, keep it simple, especially if you're starting. And sometimes even as a veteran teacher, I have to tell myself, all right, slow down, break it down, keep it simple. You can always build on what you've done of your first year, or if you've done this many years, sometimes you have to step back and rethink how you do it because technology changes. For example, first time for me to explore project board and work with that. So sometimes just reminding yourself, just keep it simple. And then as you're working with the students, it's really important to create that timeline, breaking down that project into manageable pieces, giving them deadlines to meet. And yes, you do have to have some flexibility depending on the project about those deadlines. I don't ever make them hard and fast because in reality, I tell them I can create this beautiful, timeline back in August, and come December, if there's snow days or, whatever's going on, sometimes you just have to flex, but you got to give yourself wiggle room because once you get past Christmas, it can get extremely challenging, whether it be semester exams, snow days, and those deadlines to meet for various ends of the project, at the end of the project, come faster than you want them to come. So again, be realistic with those pieces and when you set up those timelines. But the students really, really need that help in breaking down that project. Even my high schoolers do, because they're just, when I have juniors and seniors involved in research, they're also very busy in other areas. And so they need that help to manage their time sometimes. Other times students are great. They just need reminders. That's the big thing there. And then you land on a template or a format that you want in terms of your report, your display piece, how you want them to journal their research. and go with it. And a lot of times the driving force might be down the road, what type of competitions they may potentially plug into. So that sometimes drives how you go about setting up that format of how they put their research paper together, what components they have to have on their display board. The big thing is to remember that in the end, just like if a researcher is publishing in various journals, they all have their own, formatting. Students may have to adjust to whatever is required by various competitions. So again, if you're just starting, focus on one particular. Ohio Academy of Science is a great place to start. It's really accessible and available across the state, and work with that. And then if you have a student that has other idea, they really want to do a lot of different competitions, you can make those opportunities available, but it might require more parent involvement in that. And what I really suggest first time around is, for example, requiring the students potentially, for example, let's my 8th grade class out of all the classes. I potentially, if I was doing this for a first time, have them work in a team of 2. All right. And, definitely, make sure you have a good feel of the dynamics of your class so you can figure out how that pairing should be, and initially start it as a classroom requirement, and have certain requirements for within the classroom. For example, the bottom line, when it's all said and done, they have to present a Google slideshow of their analysis of the results and how they went about doing their experiment. And that, then if you have students that excel at that, open that up potentially for them to go on outside the school and do some other type of competition. So you have to just decide, how big you want it, and, how much time you want to put into it and that. But bottom line, it does cover so many areas across the curriculum that can be so beneficial. A basic thing to keep in mind is every research project should have 3 basic components. Probably the most fundamental piece is that lab journal. And that is awesome that Project Board has that interactive notebook piece, because the students have to be able to have a source that validates that this project is real. It really took place. I have that documentation that I went through all the steps that were required to do the research, do the experimentation, analyze the results. Because again, many times, especially with technology, it's easy for kids to make a really pretty project, but do they really have the nuts and bolts of evidence that they've carried out this experimentation? Do they have enough trials? That's always a big piece to it. And so that's very fundamental, whether it be that old-fashioned, composition notebook or a digital form of a notebook, something where they're recording their data, recording their thoughts, their research background, all of that. A technical report. They need to have that written piece that basically shows the background that led to the research question, the experimental design, that someone could pick up that technical report and then replicate the experimentation to look at, can I come up, do I get the same conclusions or not? And then the visual piece. So, and again, that has changed dramatically over the years. It can be that trifold board. It can be a slideshow. It can be a video. It can be a combination. But even, out in the real world, researchers still do research posters. So that's, that visual piece is still really, really important. One thing when they're starting to look at coming up with that research question, one thing I throw back at them all the time: who cares? What's the point? Why is this important? It helps to shake out the value to doing that research project. And it tends to weed out those projects where they're like, okay, let's see if I, put Dr. Pepper on my spider plan, what kind of effect does that? No, why would we want to know that? Would you really do that? And so again, it makes them think, okay, beyond just checking a box and getting a project done. And you have some students that are very challenged to come up with something in an interest area. And so that's where you provide that guidance to, okay, so you have a real interest in sports. All right, you play basketball, outdoors, indoors, different courts. Okay, what could you do with, so sometimes you just kind of pick their brain as to interest areas and then help them think of some value pieces of questions they could ask that's out there in their real world, that type of thing. I do that with working with the FFA program with ag science projects, because with their SAEs, they're doing all sorts of things related to projects within the FFA program. And I'll just ask, what kind of questions come out of those daily things you do, whether it be a landscaping project you're working on, or you're going out and feeding cattle, or you're working in the greenhouse and you're having a problem with a particular insect, that type of thing. So helping students to come up with that value, it actually helps them come up with actually have some ownership to the projects that they're doing. And that's really important too. Paperwork. So I was really glad to see Angie mentioned that there is that support piece in Project Board, because the protocol paperwork, the ISEF paperwork can be a burden, and it's complicated for a student. It's hard enough for an adult to figure out what are those pieces they need to complete and that. So one of the things I highly suggest is make sure, whether you've done it a number of times and you're still questioning it, or this is your first time, find someone who has some background in working with those pieces, and what ones have to be required for all students to compete outside the classroom. And then I tend to take some ownership in helping the students fill out that paperwork. And then the big piece, I make the student then responsible for getting the signatures they need in that. So, and again, that is just a piece that helps make sure the students are following some safety guidelines, and that liability piece in relationship, are they doing things safely, and have they gotten the permissions they need, especially with working with chemicals, flame, animal projects, people projects, those type of things. So that's really important that that's part of, and in the real world, scientists have to do that all the time. So it's not just about science fair. And another thing, as I thought through things, over the years, I've really had some mentors that have been awesome. And find someone that can be your cheerleader. Someone when, you feel, burdened by it, you're like, this is getting overwhelming, that can give you some ideas to simplify how to go through and maybe do your proofreading, and get you past some of those hard points in working with the students, because it gets kind of chaotic, especially when you have all these students doing all these various topic areas. And it actually, one of the things about doing research projects, you're actually stepping into the unknown yourself. It's like, okay, I don't know much about this topic. So what kind of resources can I find to help the student? And you're going to be taken right along with them and learn so many things with them. I just think back over the years, the number of different topic areas I have learned so much more about because of my students. And that's probably the cool part, is you have to step outside your comfort zone and challenge yourself to learn some of these topic areas that you never thought you would have as these students are working. And that, so having that mentor to just, help you keep perspective is really, really important. And I will say, as someone who's done this a long time, even after 30 years, there's going to be times, it's kind of like sometimes with a sports team, you're going to have those rebuilding years. So you may have had many successes. For any of you that have done science fair many times, before, don't beat yourself up if you get to a point where you find yourself rebuilding things. Okay. There's just been a lull in the interest in that. And I'm actually at that point right now. And so I'm having to be a lot more creative in terms of how to build that interest back up. And it's not a bad place to be. It just helps you kind of, create some, new ideas as to how to, draw the interest back into doing it, and that type of thing. And the rewards are great. I could take a lot of time to talk about a lot of students that I've seen have career paths that came out of them doing research projects. Whether it be, I have the student who is finishing up her PhD in poultry science because of 4-H and because of doing research projects related to those livestock projects. The student that has just gotten that dream job with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And I could go on and on, just the neat situations I've seen students find themselves in because of that background. And even if it isn't a career path, it helps them, learn to take those big projects, break it down, learn to communicate in many different ways. What's better yet, the icing on the cake is the prize money and the scholarships and that go with it, and that. So, or the travel opportunities. I had a student that won through FFA an opportunity to spend 10 days doing an egg tour down in Costa Rica. So, that in itself helps to encourage you to keep doing it. And if I can encourage you in any way, I want to, because it is a real way to get the kids interested in something that might be something they love, but isn't part of the general standards you're teaching in the classroom. And that. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have questions. I know Jane will have my email if you want to email me, but thank you for listening. And I hope you can get something you can use out in your classrooms too.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. I just want to reiterate that support and mentorship piece that you mentioned, because it was so heartening to me when you and Rachel got together to start planning this, and you were talking a mile a minute. Both of you were talking it, and it was amazing to hear all of the things and all of this knowledge that you have, but you were revitalized by the fact that you were talking to one another. And I really think that that is a huge piece of this. It can be so lonely in your classroom. And, when you're just hanging out, doing your own thing and trying to get through the days and get your 8th graders to love doing what they're doing, that's a pretty tough job. So, I do encourage people that if you have a buddy that you can work with in your building, great, but don't be afraid to reach out to other people and say, hey, I might need some help here. So
Thank you.
does anybody have any questions for Donna? We're going to be talking about some of those science fair additional opportunities that she was mentioning outside of the Ohio Academy of Science. So we have a list of those, and we'll be sending those out to folks just so that you can check those out. If there are other fairs that you have students maybe that are super motivated and are doing a great job in science research already, to reach out to as well. So I will go ahead and introduce Rachel Sanders and let her tell you a little bit about what she has been doing related to science fair in the past. So thanks, Rachel, for being here.
Hey, all right. So Wednesday, right? That's how I walk into my class. Let me tell you, I'm a morning person and I'm pulling from the bottom of my toes. Let's get this going. I know we're at the end. Donna is amazing. I love seeing her at all the competitions throughout, locally to throughout our state and nationally. But the biggest thing is kind of to charge you up and to get students charged up is nothing's better than when you get a group of checks mailed to your school from a competition, and all these students are starting to see other students sign for a check in their name for money that they've won an award at a competition for a project they needed to do for class anyway. So kind of like throwing it at you that way, we're all about providing opportunities. So the students are like, oh, we're going to talk about STEM fair. It's a requirement for us at our school. Every student, grades 7 through 11, that is in a class, a science class or an ag class. I'm at Global Impact STEM Academy in Springfield, Ohio. And every student has to do a research project. And with that, it takes all hands on deck. And for that piece, it also is, that's when you learn and meet your critical friends. So I really, truly do encourage you to say, hey, English teacher, would you be willing to look at grammar if I read for content? Or, hey, math teacher, I really need to help with some of these students to look at their data, tell them that, oh, maybe that's not the best graph for them, so that you're not taking all the brunt or the burden as a science teacher or research teacher. I know it's difficult, especially in sizes of districts. I was in an urban district the first year I started STEM Fair 24 years ago at Springfield South. And my urban students were like, yeah, we're not doing all this. We don't even have money to do all of this. Well, I learned how to get resourceful and find grants. So there are grant opportunities, whether you're in the state of Ohio or in your other states. One is for societyforscience.org. If you guys are not familiar, they are the ones for the Intel Science Days. They also are the ones that have the ISA form so that you're following proper protocols for research, especially with doing, I believe that's it. Yep. They are the ones that you will have to make sure. So for like animal projects or kids wanting to do surveys or some human subject forms, those are things that you want to start out right away. And yes, Priscilla, you are correct. They just opened their research grants and it's anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. So it's been really helpful. I have been fortunate enough. I was selected a few years ago to be an advocate for them for the state of Ohio. And they sent me to training. I applied. If you're selected, they send you to Washington, D.C., and you meet with the whole organization and they give you different resources and opportunities to learn about. So that's a really cool thing. Yeah, Jane, that'd be good. Just go there because this would be different things that Donna didn't mention. They have the Regeneron Science Talent Search is listed on there through them. That is for seniors only. The cool thing is the senior can pick any project they've worked on. So our students that have worked on projects for multiple years, could be different projects or one they like more than the other. They can pick one or do a brand new one. That one's usually due in November. So that's a pretty neat one. Everybody knows about the International Science and Engineering Fair. For the most part, if you're brand new, that's what the ISA forms are for, is so that it's an international competition. So I've been fortunate to have several students attend that. And one got a full ride out of University of Pittsburgh for their dental school. So all because he tested bacterial components of dental sealants. So he went and talked to his local dentist. He wanted to know why, or if it harbored a bunch of bacteria by having those sealants on their teeth. So it was things that the students, the big thing is just having kids go, what are you curious about? What do you care about? And you're going to find out that either you really love it and you want to go on and pursue something in that direction, or, ooh, this sucks. I was bored. I hated it. And that's even a greater thing, right? So that they can go, okay, I'm checking that area off. I'm going to try a new area next year. Those are just like those big things. Middle schoolers, my middle school teachers out there, Broadcom Masters is through the other form of an international science fair. And it used to be held in DC. I think it's been online a few years now, but Thermo Fisher is now taking over that and they will be running it. I think you can still find it under Broadcom in directions, but the updated stuff is not there. A lot of your states, when I went to the Society for Science Advocate Conference or learn how to be a researcher type conference for teachers, they have a middle school one and a high school level. I got to meet people from all different states and hear how every state runs their science fairs a little different and how you do your selections. So it's a pretty cool thing to check out. The Department of Defense has multiple competitions. eCyber Mission is looking around grade 9. That's kind of an introduction to them, but I do believe they have different competitions all the way through 12th grade. Same for the Army Education Outreach program. They have various ones. And then the Junior Science and Humanities Symposium for Ohio, it's at Capital University now. It used to be at Bowling Green, and Donna had her hands a lot in that, and it was a really great event. They've now switched colleges in our state for our area. So check out Capital University's website. They'll start putting it out there. For the rest of you, there are regions, and I think it's divided into like 5 or 6 regions, and they've clumped several states into various regions. So if you type up just Department of Defense STEM research or other outreach opportunities, those are there. And then Ohio also has a ODNR or wildlife symposium around anything. That's awesome. The Regeneron Science, the talent search. Carl from Ohio. Okay, so yeah, it's a cool, there's a lot of opportunities, and that's what we have to keep telling the kids. The kids want to always throw it back at us as, oh, it's a required assignment. No, it's an opportunity we're providing you, and providing you all these networks for future endeavors. So, and then as far as the science being awards, the students catch on. Once a couple of them win some of those, you're going to end up getting a lot of kids go, I want to do something science fair being related because so-and-so, they brought home a check for $100, or so-and-so just won $500. And my daughter being one of those 5-6 years ago now, for making dog biscuits and testing the protein concentrations, and what she changed were the flour content, looking at that carbohydrate source that also had some protein in it. So she used soybean flour. So imagine that. So she did pretty well and defended herself. So she was able to win $250. So she was quite happy with her second place, and as a freshman in high school. So at the time, my biggest top 5 whys, and I kind of, if you can't tell, passion. Kids can find their passion. You can find your passion. You find out you're not getting bored and stagnant. It gives them an opportunity to polish those public speaking skills. We actually do host a school fair that we use as a qualifying event to move them on if they choose to. So those are some things that you can get out of that. Project management skills. It teaches kids to, okay, I kind of got to plan this out, because if I want to do soybeans, I'm not going to start it the week before all this is due. And that happens. Then you look at germination rates. So you got to kind of figure out how to, as Donna said, adjust your timeline and think of those. We do it as a first semester required project for first semester for the high school students. So we do kind of have, it's not super stringent, but pretty close, so that we can have all the projects done by the middle of December and have our STEM fair the morning of our student expo night. So then all the boards are left up. So there's about 300, 400 science fair boards in our gym, and parents get to walk through that night. Kids get to show off all their work. So it's more than just doing some sort of project that we have to. And then whoever qualifies, if they would like to move on, that's how they move on for us. Yeah, I know I've been trying to run really fast. FFA.org, those of you that are out there for FFA, they have SAE grants that you can apply for. And then if you're also still in Ohio, the Ohio STEM Learning Network just opened up their application for classroom grants, where you can buy materials for projects as well. So there's opportunities. Just be willing to do a little bit of forefront on our end, and then get the kids motivated. So yeah, hopefully let me know if you have questions. I'm definitely happy to bounce ideas. I'm good at looking at the big picture and saying, ooh, well, what about this, and this? And then I'll call Jane and say, hey, Jane, so-and-so needs help with getting some beans. So
Yeah, we do that quite frequently. We do have one question. Do you have any helpful hints for public speaking? Because that is a real, I know that's something that you guys really focus on at Global
So what
Impact
we
too.
start with, some of the things, we do a lot of peer review and peer editing. So they're used to looking at each other's work. But one thing I started doing in my classroom, we have a TV that we use as a projection screen, and the kids can put their display boards up on the TV. And then we first start with presenting at where they're comfortable standing. And so they stand wherever, whether it's right there at their seat or where maybe some are going to be that confident and go up to the podium and kind of work them forward. So we kind of let them present it in some of their comfort zones, find one of their critical friends, just like us. I'm the same way. I want to present to my critical friends first to say, are you sure? I emailed Jane like 5 times. Hey, what do you want me to tell them? I'll be on early. Just so that you're getting valuable information and positive feedback, teaching them that feedback is a good thing. Doesn't have to be negative. So
2 resource websites you just mentioned.
OSLN.
Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, OSLN.
All right. Yeah, OSLN.org. Sorry.
And
Nope,
again, that's
autocorrect.
yeah, again, that's Ohio, the Ohio STEM Learning Network.
An FFA.
And they have grants. I love that idea of being able to do some, do a classroom grant to buy the materials for some of your students to kind of make sure that everybody has access. So that's a great
When I
idea.
first started doing this, I had a $500 budget for classroom supplies for 8 preps. So yeah, how are we going to make this happen and give everybody an opportunity? Because everybody deserves the opportunity. So yeah, that you got real, and I don't have time to write long, lengthy grants, so I would not share things that are super long and take hundreds of days of your time, because I know all of our time is valuable. So those are the big things. Other public speaking things, we do have the student expo nights so that the kids are talking to their family members coming through. So that's another good way. They have a parent, the middle school for their STEM fair the day before. We have my older students go up and do the first round of just talking and hearing about their projects. Then the next morning, the parents are invited to come in, and then they have their actual science fair. So it's just kind of broken out throughout the day, different components and how much time. I mean, I could go through and give you a lot of state standards, national science standards that go with everything for all groups. It's all reading, it's all part of writing. So yeah, you just kind of got to help each other.
I would also say with the public speaking that encourage them to be conversational, not to memorize some kind of presentation. They should know and have an outline, but they should just be having a conversation and discussing the project in an organized fashion. Because sometimes you run into those projects where the kids are just kind of like turn on the tape recorder and they're just throwing information out. So, and by doing the things that Rachel mentioned, that helps them be comfortable with just talking about the project.
Rose, to answer your question about finding original ideas, yes, we do get some. And then we kind of throw it back at them, or I'll throw it back at them and go, let's think about this a little bit. But to be honest, I have had them start like asking when their parents, is there something that's on their job that they're struggling with, and could they help them come up with a problem? Or, hey, I'm really interested in plants and working in the greenhouse. And so I reach out to our master gardeners and kind of say, hey, this is the grade level. These are things that they're interested in. Are there different things that you guys noticed that they could study? So that's kind of how we try to get them to get some original spends on things. So yeah, for the bio products and stuff, my kids love cosmetic products. They love making soy-based chapsticks. And so a couple of them turn it into there. I will say our 7th grade teacher last year, she was brand new, terrified to roll this out. But then I kind of helped her and said, okay, she wanted to do something with spinach and growing spinach, and how many different ways could you grow spinach? And so what we did is we just grouped her kids that were interested in learning about a certain method of growing the spinach, and work everybody in, because these 7th graders were coming from 21 different school districts. So we're trying to this is new to them as well, in that teamwork piece. So you can kind of start with team projects like Donna mentioned, and then kind of work your way as your exposure. My experienced people, how that goes. Sometimes, yep, you're going to get a couple of those students that they're going to do it for the grade, the requirement, and that's as good as you're going to get. But you also have to remind them you chose that topic. So when they want to complain, I'm like, but who picked that project
Mhm.
in the end? So you're not going to win them all over. But I figure if we can win some of them over and be willing to go, the benefits for them and the opportunities that come along with it through each process has by far outweighed those hours they put in.
So I'm gonna have to cut us off because we are at the end of our hour, but I wanted to make sure that you notice that I have the emails up here. And again, if you need those emails, certainly just reach out to Sally or myself and we'll get those for you. Again, of course, we're sponsored by Grow Next Gen and we're giving out these bioscience awards for soybean projects. So of course, we'd love to encourage your students to do something that's related to agriculture or soybeans. So please do so. And if you'll check out that science fair page, there's a lot of different ideas there. Susan, who is also our COO at Education Projects, she put a bunch of ideas there in the chat right there at the end. But there are many more on that page that I showed you right at the very beginning. And we will be sending out a link to the recording as well as the contact info. And basically, I think our whole goal here was to make it hopefully a little bit more doable for you to come up with, to do a science fair project with students. They've talked about the multiple benefits. We talked about the monetary rewards as well in some cases, and really thinking about all of that, how to introduce students to careers. I love Rachel's idea about that last piece. Talk to their parents and ask them if there's a problem they're working on, or other adults that they know, if there are ways that they can experiment that makes a real difference, because we always want our students to think that what they're doing is relevant. So I, again, thank you all for being here. We are excited to be moving into this new school year, and science fair is part of that. The folks that are on the website or on the webinar right now, we will be sending you also a poster and a magnet that has some timelines on it. So you can kind of think about what Donna was talking about in terms of having some goals for things to be completed. And then the poster is really for your students. And it's like, hey, now you have to do a science fair. Where do you start? So we're putting those things together and we're getting them printed for you guys that have participated. So we love the fact that you spend an hour of your evening with us. And thank you again, Rachel and Donna and Susan and Mary and Sally, for making all this stuff possible. So I will say goodnight and hope you all have a really good evening. Thanks again.